Hey, how's it going, guys? And welcome back to the final installment of Filzys Workbench Journal. I just finished up the Kfir last night. Here it is, right here. As you can tell here, this is final from beginning to end. I think where I last left off, I applied a gloss coat, and I was getting ready for decals. I think. I only say this because usually I do a video, I just throw it on there, never look back. That's it. I just let everybody else look. So anyway, I used the decals from the kit, which actually worked a lot better than I thought it would. I was kind of concerned because they weren't very well printed, but they looked like they were very well in register, and they looked like they were going to work really good. And they did. They actually conformed, they adhered, didn't have any tears, they aren't fragile, and they actually worked very good. Matter of fact, here's the result right here, since I was building the gray version. And the one I represented was 101st Squadron, which is known as the 1st Squadron in Israeli Air Force. And it was this one right here was the only MiG killer. That was the only MiG killer right there. As you can see, the computer's hiding behind a bottle. It was the only MiG killer during that time frame. It took down a MiG-21 with a Sidewinder missile. Applied my decals. They're water slide, of course. Like most kits, they have water slide decals. Applied my decals. I used the microscale method because I was worried they were fragile, which were right here. This is what I use. I'll explain this in a future video for you new guys. Used that. They conformed well. Didn't have any troubles with them after that. Gave it a day to dry, wiped off any excess decal setting solution, any solvent. Then I applied my wash. Now the wash, for you new guys, a wash really isn't a wash on this. All it is just it darkens the recesses of any gray panel lines, any other spots. That's what a wash is. The wash that I used was a combination of raw umber oils and lighter fluid this time. I usually use mineral spirits, but for some reason I went with the lighter fluid this time. It's become my favorite thing as of late, as you can see here. I keep this away from the gas heater, by the way. Everything, since it's flammable. Mixed it together a little bit. I wanted the consistency of coffee. Let it flow through the recesses, and which, as you can see here, I will show this again. You see in the recess panel lines, a lot easier to clean up. Matter of fact, I was able to dry wipe it as per se. And any excess I wiped off with mineral spirits, damped, which was a rag, damped with mineral spirits. Pardon me for the moment. Now, as for the landing gear in the cockpit, I used the Payne's Gray, of course. This way it looks a little more realistic. Set everything aside, let it dry, focused on the Ordnance, painted all the... gloss coated the Ordnance, did the same thing like I did the airframe, gave it a day to dry, painted everything with a flat coat. The flat coat I used was Tester's acrylic. This is a really good flat coat, but it could be incredibly temperamental. So you got to be careful with that stuff. I use it for testers. I mostly use this. This is a great thinner. You can actually find this at your hobby shop, craft stores. It's a really good thinner. And since I use an airbrush, it's ideal. Mixed it up in a ratio of about, we'll say 2/3 paint, 2/3 paint, 1/3 thinner. Sprayed it on. Now, if you noticed in the videos, I had the Canopy covered. I used Tamaya masking tape, which is perfect for like when you want to keep the canopy covered without it getting damaged. This is perfect. Way to go, Tamaya, because I left this on for a couple weeks. Guys, I really couldn't get to it as much as I would. I'm a dad, so I spend time with my son, my wife, and whatever time I do have when I'm not working or doing any of that, I'm down here. But so I used that, left it on for a couple of weeks. I finally peeled it off after everything was said and done. No residue, didn't have to rework the canopy, nothing. Nice work, time. Some good tape there. Once I did my flat coat, I did my final assembly. Now, the little scoops and antennas and bumps on here, well, these here, that there, and there's one under here. I had to glue those on last. I should have done it while I was doing regular assembly, but I couldn't do that because I was afraid I was going to break them off while I was painting or anything else. But I did them in the last minute. Pivot probe right here. The pivot tube, I should say, right here. I also put that on last because I was afraid I was going to break it. Once I got those, I also glued the assembly. I still got a couple of blade antennas I got to add on, which are black, which is no big deal. It won't take that much. I can just glue one on, the other on. That's about it. Forgot about those. But for the record, it's all said and done. I also painted the lights, navigation lights, as you see here, here, and on the wings. And if you notice why, for you new guys, if you notice why the wingtip lights, one side's red, the other side's green, I think it's a common thing. As far as I know, it goes back to World War II, but they've been doing it for a long time, so why change it? Oh, most air forces around the world do that when aircraft companies do that. Got everything assembled, not a problem. Everything went together perfectly. The Ordnance, though, the only thing I really used from the kit was the Mark 82 slicks, and that was for the middle bomb rack. The bigger bombs, Mark 83s, and the AIM-9 Sidewinders were from a Hostile weapons set, which are also great weapons, but a little bit of pain in the butt to glue on. But once all said and done, everything was assembled, fine, not a problem. Things were perfect. It's a really good kit. Now, from my experiences with this kit during this build, it's a great kit, goes together well. For future reference, if I pick this up again, I'm probably going to build it as a C7, not as a C2, because I still got spares right in my box stack for the laser guided bombs. I'm also, and because, give me a few minutes here, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, reason why C7, it also had the antennas for the C7, so any bumps or vents or anything, so it'll be for a future reference. The Connecticut I'll probably end up building as a C2. Details are hit or miss. Like the airframe, very well done. Not as many panels like you would expect, like you would on the Connecticut. Goes together. Otherwise, it works great. The recessed panel lines are a little on the heavy side, but if you got a primer and you use acrylics, it's not a problem. I had no problems with it. Took the wash well, as you saw. Cockpit detail, it could benefit from an instrument. It can benefit from photo etch set. Not a major photo etch, just a little bit. You only need a touch. Because the rest of otherwise, consoles are fine, sidewalls are fine. Your instrument panel is really not that great, so that's where you could use the photo etch in. The seat should be replaced. It's really not a great seat. Even if you build it as a C7, it's really not that great. But if you use the photo etch, it might make things a little bit better, because I pilfered the ejection seat from the Connecticut and used it on the AMK kit, which makes life a lot easier. I would have liked more Ordnance in the kit, but that would have jacked up the price some, and the kit itself is not cheap. It's about $45-50, depending on where you live. In the United States, it would be around $45 to $50, sometimes $55 to $60, depending on where you buy it from. It's also not an easy kit to find. AMK is still a new company, so they're just making their way out. Although they've made some great kits in the past couple of years. Their MiG-31 is like a surefire winner. But you may have to order them online. You can go like Amazon, eBay, or you can have your local hobby shop order it for you if he can get the AMK. Like I said, they're not that easy to find. And the fit was good. The fit was fantastic. The only troubles I had was the underside of the wings, but since I have experience with putty, it wasn't a big deal. However, that might have been my fault. I might have not really took the time and try to test fit and really fit everything. But if it's the kit itself, if it's the kit itself that might be the trouble, I might sand the mating surfaces for the wing joints for next time. The kit, it's like the underside of the wing, it was warped. I think that was because where it was placed. I don't blame it on the company. Might have been the gas heater here that might have had an effect on it, because I did have some warp issues, which I was easily able to fix a little bit at a time with the glue, and you just leave it alone at that. Intakes are actually quite convincing. You don't really need to have that much detail in the intakes. As long as you got your splitter plate and the outer intake, you're good to go. As for the paint job, I'm disappointed with it. Even though Life Color makes great paints and most of their colors match the federal standard, the two ghost grays were a real problem for me. For some reason, they looked almost the same. So next time I paint this in a two-tone gray scheme, I'm probably going to go with the Testers, Goons, or I'll mix my own from Tamiya, or I may have to, or next time I'll just add a little bit of black to the dark ghost gray so it makes a better contrast. Because let me show this one more time, because if you can see here, it looks almost the same. And it really shouldn't be. It should be a subtle difference in between both colors. Let's see, Ordnance, everything. Otherwise, everything else is great on this, but like I said, future, I'm going to build it as a C7 because it seems to be ideal. And I got the spares, so that won't make it much of a problem. Decals are fine. If you don't like the decals, you can always get Isra decals or spares from the Kinetic, if you got a Kinetic Kfir kit. Otherwise, I find them just fine. What I should have done, as I probably mentioned before, I apologize for repeating, I should have cut where, scored along the decals where any recesses were, so when I did the wash, it would have been more uniform. Because it really didn't quite pull in, even though I was worried about it. I was worried about the Filzys doing any damage to it, to the decals, so I went with the microscale method. Although I could have applied more microsol, would have made life a lot easier. But I wasn't concerned about that. Let's see, anything else? Back to the detail in the Kfir. Like I said, the airframe's fine. Cockpit needs a little work. The engine is the exhaust for the engine is a lot better than the Kinetic kit. If you don't like it, you can always go with an aftermarket item, but otherwise, it looks really good. Just take your time. The instructions for this kit, it would have been a little better if they did a cross-reference, like Testers and Tamiya and Vallejo. But if you're intermediate modeler and you know your federal standard colors, it's really not a problem. You can always cross-reference. Or you can, for you new guys, if you're not sure, you can always go on the internet and look everything up, talk to fellow modelers about it and stuff. Otherwise, this is a really nice kit. It really is. AMK is still feeling their way around, and they've made some great kit. They've been making some great kits as of late. They're also coming out with an F-14 kit. The MiG-31's a real showstopper. I've read rave reviews about that. So AMK, this is one of AMK's first kits, so you got to keep in mind. So it's not perfect, but it's actually quite good. Everything's quite convincing. The landing gear lights, you can see here on the nose, if you look carefully, I have mixed feelings about clear parts. Sometimes I'm fine with them. Sometimes I have trouble. I have problems with them. In this case, they were fine on me, so I was able to get away with it. Otherwise, really no complaints about the kit. It's a great kit. I don't recommend it for beginners because of some of the fiddly bits on there. But for some of you guys who have experience with small parts and stuff, this is a good start. This is a good kit. And you really can't go wrong with it. I don't know how the Kinetic kit is, but this one's a definite winner. So this is what I got for now. I will talk to you guys again on whatever project I'm working on. Maybe do some more videos on what I got in the stash or the whole modeling thing. So take it easy, happy modeling, and I will talk to you guys again soon. Have fun.